Today I want to give you some keys to building a great backswing. The backswing is one of the easiest parts of the golf swing. Simply trying to prime yourself in a position that will allow you to attack that golf ball in your downswing. I've got 3 simple steps that will allow that backswing to be repeatable every time. Let's get to it. The backswing is a simple priming motion. We're setting ourselves in a place where we can pull the golf club, yes, pull the golf club, use our feet to open our body up and hopefully create some synergy down through impact. You're going to learn how to rotate, you're going to learn how to lift your arms, and you're going to learn how to rotate your forearms. Those are the 3 ingredients that make up a great backswing. Every single backswing, no matter who you are, has some sort of body rotation. Body rotation from the chest and the pelvis. So often we've thought about how can I turn my shoulders. Now I'm sure you have heard enough now from various golf channels, various mediums, that the shoulder turn really is a reaction of how much hip turn. Hip turn can happen in many different guises. We can rotate our hips with a high right hip, which will create a certain reaction of the upper body. And we can rotate our hip action moving more towards the target with a high left hip. They are 2 very different motions. This one is one that starts to move you off the golf ball, tends to shorten your upper body and tends to get an arm lift that's a little bit too steep. The body rotation, the hip rotation that I would really encourage you to have is one where you start to feel the right hip rotate back. The right hip really feels like it tucks under you. But be mindful that we never want to see the left hip really move outside of the left ankle on the way back. So if you were to hold a golf club on your left foot here, or your lead side, with your lead arm, and then make a backswing, what you're looking to feel is a light touch of your left hip, your lead hip, on that golf club. And so all of a sudden you can really see how this right hip has moved inside. At this point, you can really start to feel like you can open up some shoulder rotation. So as I go back to the start, I'm going to rotate my hip action. I'm going to push and lean my lead hip into that golf club so I can hold it up like so. I'm going to keep on rotating. Now if I move too much towards the target, that golf club is going to fall over. So you really can start to make it a bit of a barometer of how much that hip rotation sets itself so that it's above that left hip there, left ankle rather. And then you can really start to feel how these shoulders can open up. So with that in mind, I can now make a backswing, still keeping that vision of that left hip moving towards that golf club to prop it up so that I start to open up my lower half. And as I open up my lower half, I'm just going to let my arms do whatever I want them to do. Now when I'm swinging, however the golf ball comes out, I need to isolate just the simple motion that I'm trying to change here. We'll come on to ball striking in a later series. And this is going to be a 4-part series. This one is going to talk about how to essentially build a backswing, how to essentially build a downswing. Then we're going to talk about impact, and then we're going to talk about through swing. So it's really going to be a 4-video series that is really going to give you the cold, hard facts of how to build a golf swing. I'm going to take it as read that you've got the grip in place because you'll have checked out my video series on the grip because that is a key player to get the face lined up. So we've talked about the hip action, how that needs to move in a backswing. The reaction of the good hip action is really going to start to make my shoulders open up because the more that right hip moves back, the more it'll allow my shoulders to open up. And then what we're going to talk about is how much arm lift. How much arm lift do we want? Now, every single golf swing has arm lift to some degree, where the arms started and where the arms finished. The gap between the two that you can see on the screen is arm lift. I now rotate my body. You can now see there is the arm lift factor in a backswing. How much you turn your body, hip action, upper body rotation, will dictate how much arm lift you can get away with. The more you have hip action, shoulder turn, the more arm lift you can get away with. The more arm lift, the more time you need to bring that golf club back down onto the lower plane in order for you to then strike the golf ball and get the ball going in a straight line. So arm lift does have some ingredient that is really responsible to either helping or hindering your hip and chest rotation. But a really good barometer, if you've got reasonable mobility, is lifting the handle up to your nose. If you lift the handle up to your nose, you're going to be in a pretty good order for getting that golf club in the right spot to the top of your backswing in order to then bring it back down to the golf ball and deliver a fairly straight shot. Well, it's a bit more than fairly, huh? So now we've covered good hip rotation. Now we've talked about how much arm lift we want to encourage. The third element is forearm rotation. Forearm rotation is something that golfers seem to want to really push aside in their golf swing motion. Remember, when we set up to this golf club, this is angular. When we start to take the golf club away, we almost lose that angle, don't we? Can you see how that golf club at this point was on a slant? Now it's on a straight line. So this golf club head has effectively moved from this line. Now the golf club is on this line. And now the club head at the top of the backswing is on a line back over there. And that line back over there is telling us that the club head has gone from being in front of us to being behind us. And you can see, for me to be able to do that, I need to have forearm rotation in the right arm and the left arm. And so that forearm rotation can then be isolated at setup. So when you start to lift the golf club up in front of you, when you then lay the club at least 45 degrees, what you then start to see is how that right arm wants to kick towards the target. I'm not trying to tuck it in. It's simply rotating to the right, which will have enough impetus from the head weight pushing the handle this way that allows that right forearm to stay in front of your chest. Now, depending on how much hip rotation and how much chest rotation that you get in your backswing will really give you the opportunity to get that right arm staying in front of you, which everybody talks about. So how you lift your arms up to nose height, you lay the club shaft down to 45 degrees, then you really turn that right hip so you prop the golf club up on your left ankle, and now all of a sudden you're in a spot that gives you a chance to deliver the golf club in a way that once again hits the ball fairly straight. Now, how do you go about practicing this? What I would recommend is getting yourself 10 golf balls, pile them up in the corner, and spend 10 golf balls working on your hip action. Just isolate your hip action. Don't worry about anything else. I'm really just thinking about how I'm going to use my hip action in an effort to make better swings. However the golf ball comes out, whether it comes out miles left like that or off to the right, it matters not. I'd spend 10 balls doing that. Then I'd spend 10 balls working on feeling arms to my nose. Now I make a backswing. That's where I want the arms to feel. Then I make a swing, try and replicate the same feeling. If the ball now goes to the right, we don't care. We're going to really get away from feeling what the golf ball is doing. I'm just isolating the component. I'd hit 10 shots doing that. Then I'd get myself.
If you're tired of paying too much for your premium leather golf gloves, head over to gxgolfgloves.com. These are gloves trusted by tour players and elite amateurs alike. Use my code GOODCOACHING to receive 10% off your next order. Go try them out. You won't be disappointed.
Up in front, getting the golf club 45 degrees, feeling how that shaft now wants to lay away from me. Then I go back down to the ground, I try and feel the same feeling, and then hit one. And hopefully, just hopefully, when you've started to work on those 3 elements, by the time you got to the 3rd one, you never know, you might be hitting shots just like that. Hip rotation, arm lift, forearm rotation will set up your backswing, just like the pros. Thanks so much for watching. Consider subscribing while you're here. I look forward to seeing you next time. That, my friends, is good coaching.